Alright, hello. Welcome to my warrior training video. I decided I'm going to make a video on all the tanks, and I main warrior, so I figured I would start with warrior and just go over everything from the basics to advanced and such like that. Give everybody just basically, if you want to know how to play a warrior, just a little bit of a guide. Now, warrior is different from the other tanks because your paladin is your flashy sword and board, and it does a lot of magic. It can do a little, like ranged and melee, kind of a combination. It does a little healing, and it's very, very group friendly. It can protect others and such. Your Dark Knight is a little bit of, it does really good DPS. Its rotation and stuff, it's not very difficult to pick up and to learn. Just keep everything up when it pops. It's a two-handed sword, so it can be fun, and it's got that dark look that everyone likes, but its main thing is, in its mitigations, it does magic and physical mitigations. And then basically you have the Gunbreaker, which is like the DPS type tank. Its rotation has been changed lately, so it's all set up to a 1-minute burst, which is really easy to pick up and do well as long as you keep everything popped when it comes up. It can feel a little clunky if you get off on it a little bit, but it does really strong DPS, and it still has very good mitigations and a bit of sustainability to keep itself going. In its combo, it has a shield and a heal built in, and it has some hots and other things like that. And then your warrior is basically your berserker. It pulls the big two-handed axe. It does a lot of fancy animations. You can do like a flip across the arena to jump on the boss. You do a lot of axe animations. You do let's see if that's not it. Not sure what it's under. Maybe might be under character, controller, items, UI, hotbars, party list. Let's see, under general. More settings, controller settings. I think it'll be under camera control, target, filtered maybe, character, battle effects. Okay, I want to show all of mine. That way I can give you the full effect. I turn a lot of, I put show limited for most of them, and that way you can still see where healers put what they, their bubbles and such like that, but you don't have 50 things flashing in your face when you're trying to do extremes and such. It's already enough with the bosses, 50 things flashing in your face. So basically a warrior has a 1-2-3 combo, and you start off with heavy swing, which it does a 240 potency. Then you go into main, which is a 340 if you use it, after as a combo, and it increases your beast gauge, which we'll discuss in a minute. And then you also have Storm's Path, which is your third, which is used in the third part of the combo. Will do a 500, and it does a 250 heal. It also heals, and it increases your beast gauge by 20. Now, what you want to keep up all the time is called Storm's Eye. It does the same damage as main, so you're not losing anything, except for the beast gauge is 10. That's why you don't spam this to keep your buff up. You use the other one, it gives you more beast gauge. That's the difference. But this, you want to keep up 30 seconds. It gives you a 10% buff. your damage increased by 10%. So when you hit the boss, basically you'll have a 1, 2, 3 combo. You'll have the 1, then the 2, then you'll want to use Storm Die. And there, see, at the left, my little counter. And then normally you would use this. See, and that increases. And then that takes us to your beast gauge. Down here, everything increases on your beast gauge. Now, once your beast gauge gets 50, you can use what's called Ffxiv. It will use up your beast gauge, but the Ffxiv does a very hard attack. It's a 580 potency. It's one of your bread and butter, see? And every time you use Ffxiv, it brings back your Infuriate by 5 seconds because they're a 60-second timer, but every time you use like a Ffxiv, a super Ffxiv, whatever, it brings on your Infuriate. Now, what your Infuriate does is basically you hit it and it grants you a Nascent's Chaos. For 30 seconds, when you hit it, you see my Ffxiv has changed to Inner Chaos. It will now do a 700 potency. See? And it's a guaranteed crit direct hit. So that's what you use that for, and then watch. Now, see my Infuriate timer is at 21, 20, look, down to 15. Every time you use Ffxiv, it resets the timer by 5 seconds. So that's why you want to get as much beast gauge and use as many Ffxivs as you can to bring up your super Ffxivs as much as possible. Now, what I also have is called Onslaught. That basically is just, you rush in. But on a warrior, it does damage, 150 damage. It's basically just a rush in. It's fairly simple. And then this is just your, basically your off global DD on a 30-second recast. Anytime it's up, just hit it. And it just does extra damage. Now, what you also have in your final thing that I want to show you for your damage is going to be your bread and butter, Inner Release, which is up every 60 seconds, and this is your burst phase. This grants 3 stacks of Inner Release, so it allows you to use the big Ffxivs 3 times that are guaranteed to crit and direct hit. And what it does basically when you hit it, see how it even gives you that look with the red eyes and the whole thing? You want to use your 3 Ffxivs, see, guaranteed direct hit crits. And once that goes off, then that will pop up your off-global cooldown called Primal Wrath, which hits for 700. You want to hit that, and then that takes you over here to Primal Ren, which hits for 720. This is your cool flip, watch. No matter where you're at, it's going to flip to the boss, and then it's going to change to Primal Ruination, which goes from 720 to 800, and has a lava effect. And that's basically like most of your DPS right there and what you're going to be using. So a simple rotation to open up with, let me get my Inner Release set, and then I'll explain to you a basic simple rotation. You want to start off with Tomahawk, hit your Infuriate to get it on timer, then you want to go through and get your buff up for maximum damage. As soon as your buff is up, you want to hit Inner Chaos, Upheaval, Onslaught, then your Inner Release. Now you would do that because as soon as your buff came up, you would want to pop your potion. And that would give all of this, then back to Heavy Swing, and then Main, and then Storm's Path. And then that would bring up this. And that would give you that extra hit inside of your potion if you were trying to do like an opener. That's a basically standard set opener. You want to just Tomahawk in unless you're the off tank, then you can Onslaught in, jump in, then your heavy swing, your main, put your storm's eye up, and after you jump in or you do your tomahawk after you have hit your infuriate. So that way your big super fell cleave will be up. You will use it, and then you will use your inner release and your 3 fell cleaves, your off global cooldown, then your 2 big hits. Then hit your infuriate and the other one, then a 1, 2, 3 heavy swing main and your storm's path, and then that will give you enough for a normal fell cleave. And when you hit that, it'll bring up your infuriate, and you're able to use a super fell cleave with like 1 second left on your potion. So that's how you're able to fit in your big opening burst. Now, what Warrior also has, and Defiance is basic nothing to it. That's just your tank stance. I think everyone understands tank stance. Tank stance is like, say like, if Tomahawk does like 150 enmity, well, tank stance is going to times 10. So now it's doing 1,500 enmity. That's why you don't pull off of a tank. It's like such a high multiplier on the enmity. Basically, you have some different cooldowns. We'll go over your self cooldowns, and then we'll go over the group helping. You firstly start off with Rampart, which every tank gets Rampart. On the Warrior, you know, it's a 20% reduction, and the bonus the Warrior gets is it increases hit point recovery for healing actions on yourself. Only the healing actions you do, not by the healer, by 15%. Then you have your bread and butter, your damnation. This is on a 2-minute cooldown, but it's a 40% reduction. Plus, for 15 seconds while it's up, it does a 55 potency every time you're hit by anything. So it used to have really helped with keeping aggro, but now it just does a little extra DPS. And it will give you, for 15 seconds, once you're hit with having this up, you'll get a healing over time that will heal you for basically like 300. So I can't get hit, so I have to wait for the timer to expire, but I want to show you how nice this hot. It's only a 300 potency, but it's a very nice hot. It helps. See, like if you was to get hit or if the timer expires, look, 18,000 every 3 seconds. And if it crits, look, 30K. That's not a bad heal to keep you going. Warrior is really, really a lot of good healing mitigation to help healers. Okay, now, another big one that you get is called Thriller Battle. This one I love. It's a big Warrior thing. And Warriors are the only ones that get it. I think they gave it to Gunbreaker now, but it's tied into it's like its big thing or something. But Thriller Battle increases your hit points by 20%, and it heals you for that 20%. And it increases hit point recovery by healing actions on yourself by 20%. So like, if you have a big hit coming or something like that, or like, you know, you're not topped off, or you have a really big hit coming that you know is going to hit super hard, or if you have a Vone or two, you want to hit Thriller Battle, and then you want to hit the Damnation. And what that's going to do is give you 20% more to that 18K heal once it starts ticking, which should be what, like an extra almost 4,000. I mean, that's nice every tick, an extra. I mean, you're looking from 18K to like 22, 23K a tick. It can be a help in the situation. And then you have your 60-second insta heal. This heals you for 1,200 potency, instantly heals you. And it puts a 200 cure on you. Watch, like boom. Look at that. 111,000 instantly healed, and then you got your little 12K heal. That thing is nasty, and it can come in handy. And then you have what's called Bloodwetting. This is nasty. 25-second recast timer. If you hit it right, It's a 20% reduction because it's only 20% for the first 4 seconds, then it drops off to 10% for the next 4. So if you time it right with a tank buster, or sometimes what I'll do if I know I'm getting a big hit, I'll hit Rampart and then I'll hit Bloodwetting because that'll also beef it. And plus, for the next for 8 seconds, um, it what is it at? Restores hit points with each weapon skill. So for the next 3 or 4 hits, you're gonna heal yourself for 400, which is probably somewhere like about 25K a piece. And each time you hit, it's gonna heal you. And so this really helps to help you top back off after a big hit or something to help a healer. And if you're in a dungeon pulling and you have multiple mobs, every time you hit, you will top off. You will top off. You'll sit there for about 8 seconds, just full health. It's really strong, and it helps the healers to be able to concentrate and do more DPS, and because that's basically your job as a warrior, is to DPS because they do really good DPS, and it's to mitigate a lot, help your healers as much as possible. You get a lot of different types of mitigations. And now we're going to go into what's called arm's length. This is your anti-knockback and pull-ins, which you usually hit it when you're about to be knocked back, and it'll stop you from getting knocked back. And I didn't tell you, on inner release, it grants inner strength. It nullifies no stun, no sleep, no bind, no heavy, and most knockback. So when you hit your inner release, it has a built-in, for 15 seconds, anti-knockback. So Warrior's the only tank that gets 2 anti-knockbacks. And also, this is good to use like in a dungeon when you're pulling and there's multiple on you. Because look, every time that you get hit, they're affected with a 20% slow. So if you hit this immediately when you do a big pull, it slows them from hitting you as hard, so the DPS can get rid of some of them. It helps the healing on you, so they don't have to heal you as hard, and everything to help. And then another big one that you get is interject. It is basically, if you see, it's an interrupt. If you see the boss casting something and the cast bar that he's casting is flashing, it can be interrupted. You want to use your interject on there, and that will interrupt some of your big hits. Now, I'm going to go into a couple more things that's not really mitigation, but it's good to learn as a tank when you're doing some mechanics, like I believe it was, I'm trying to remember which one it might, I think it's Gobez that has a tank swap. He hits you, he uses 3 different tank busters, 1, 2, 3, and it puts this debuff on you, and you can only take 2 debuffs. The third one will kill you. So what you can either do is take the first hit, and then the off tank has to grab it, take the second hit, then you grab it back, or you take 2 hits, and then you let the off tank take over his main tank and grab it. How he does that is basically what you got here called provoke. But provoke does 2 things. It puts you at the top of the enmity list above everyone else, but for so many seconds, I'm not sure what it is, it helps you gain enmity with every hit too. So say like if you're a main tank and you're running with an off tank and you're having a little bit of trouble when you pull, hold an aggro off of that off tank at first, as soon as you like throw your tomahawk, hit provoke. And that will build up that enmity, plus put you at the top, and that will help you to keep it off of them. And then also, whenever it's up, or for your tank buster, what you do is if someone provokes, what you can do is what's called shirt. It will give 25% of your enmity to whoever, like to that tank. So it will decrease your enmity and give them 25%, and that's how you do a tank swap. And to make sure you know that you don't hit it once or twice after they provoke it and you grab it back and then die. So that's how those buttons are used. Trying to think. We get on to our last one, This is what's called your invuln. For a warrior, it's called home gang, and warrior has the only one on a 4-minute recast. Everyone else is 5 or 6 minutes. Every other tank. Warriors is the lowest. It basically, you will still take damage, but you basically most hits, I would say 95% of the hits. There's a couple hits that, that are designed that everybody dies, but it will keep you from dying. You'll go to like one hit point for 10 seconds. You can't die. And that's like an emergency, oh crap button or whatever like that. And it's up every 4 minutes, which helps. And then you have a couple of AoE mitigations that help the group. You have Reprisal, which every tank gets. It's on a 60-second recast, and I think it starts off at 10 seconds, but when you hit, 90, 95 or something, it goes up to for 15 seconds. It's a debuff you actually put on the boss, and it reduces their damage by 10%. It's a big debuff, and it helps for like big, like raid wides and such like that to really help with that. You want to throw that up, and if you time it right, sometimes you can catch 2 big hits if they're doing them close together. Some of the mechanics and some of the bosses do that. And then you have, which I think is one of the best AoE mitigations. It's called Shake It Off. It creates a barrier around you and everyone in your party that absorbs 15% of your hit points. So for a tank at 300k, then you're looking at 45,000 hit points it absorbs in the hit before you even take damage. And this is for each individual person according to their hit points, of course. And if you had it like Thrill of Battle or Damnation or Bloodwetting up, it'll increase it by 2% each. It lasts for 30 seconds. But once you hit one time, the bubble bursts, and that's it. Then it will gradually restore, so it throws up a 100 potency hot, and it throws up a 300 potency insta-heal on everyone in the group. So it's really good for like a big boom that everyone's going to take a lot of damage, and then it helps the healers with the low hot to get them back up. And that is basically Warriors in a nutshell. I mean, I gave you guys the opener, and basically what you want to do is you would basically you would just tomahawk and then infuriate, and then you would 1, then you would 2, then what I would do is 3, pot and hit this, and then hit that, and infuriate, and then a release, and then that, then there's that one, then you primer in, your ruination, you want to hit inner chaos, see? Well, normally Ffxiv wouldn't have been up till the storm's passed. Then you hit that, then you come back and you do another rotation, hit that, and then you bring your storm dive buff back up. And that's pretty much your opener, and just keep doing your heavy swing main storm's path, and then Ffxivs when you have them. And when your inner releases back up, hit it again. It's just Warrior is like, it has good sustainability, but its bursts are really strong. And that's pretty much it. Now, the AoE side of Warrior, it has a 1-2 combo, Overpower, which does 110 to all enemies, and then you want to use your Mithril Tempest, which does 140 on the combo AoE to everything, but it gives you your Surging Tempest, which was the same as your Storm's Eye. It gives you your 10% buff, so you can keep your buff up when you're AoE in. And it increases your gauge by 20. Then what we have here is your Orogeny is basically the same as your Onslaught. It's just an AoE DD that you just throw up whenever it's up. And then you see I have arm's length here, and I have all my mitigations over there. Now what Infuriate does is when Infuriate is up, whoops, I hit the wrong one. You see, it changes this to Chaotic Cyclone, which is like a super AoE. It delivers a 200 potency, and it reduces your infuriate by 5 seconds. But see, it's a massive. And then also when you hit inner release, you get your 3 automatic crit and direct hit decimates. Okay, then you still get your Primal Wrath, and then you still get your Ren and Ruinations, because they are AoE hits. And yes, that's basically what you use. You use your 1-2. Get your orogeny. And then whenever your decimate's up, and then your super AoE. And that's all it is basically to the rotation on AoE. Very simple. But that's it to Warrior. Now I will say that lower off, you know, heavy swing, maim, you use Berserk pretty much the same way that you would in a release, except for it doesn't have half the stuff that it does, but it's still good critical direct hits. You really, you know, you get a few things. Vengeance, home gang, Vengeance isn't that strong. See, it just reduces by 30%, and it'll go to 40 once you hit certain. It's not really until you hit, I would say, maybe in the 50s or 60s, once you start getting your Ffxiv and your raw intuition is your basic bloodwetting. But see, it still restores hit points, and it only reduces damage by 10, but it's still beginning. And then you'll start getting like your decimates and your upheavals and your inner release at 70. So Warrior is a slower to level, not as fun at lower levels. It doesn't get all as exciting boom booms and major hits and stuff. I'd say probably till around 70 once you get your inner release, 60s and 70s. But if you could play it until then, it's really a lot of fun to play. You roll it basically with all your tanks get. You know, Rampart, everybody gets 20%. Low blow is just a stun. You provoke, like we were talking about, your interject, your reprisal, your arm's length, and then your shirt. That's something that they all get. So, hope you guys enjoyed this Warrior video, and it helped you to understand the class a little bit better.